Again, I'm quoting here from the Pnei Menachem, was interviewed, and he tells many stories of his connection with the Rebbe. Okay, he's telling the stories about a mikveh. We're just talking about a mikveh. So he says the Pnei Menachem is telling the interviewer, Aaron Dov Halpern. He said, "I'll tell you a story that I heard from the Baal HaMaaseh himself, Ger Chassid." He said this Ger Chassid was very wealthy, and for business, for a certain period, he lived in New Zealand. Not far from where I am right now. So one day, he came to New York to visit his daughter. This was 1949. So when he was in New York, he entered into the building there. He was in the elevator, and he, not knowing, but he met the Rebbe, our Rebbe, who wasn't a Rebbe yet. So they're going up a few flights in the elevator. You heard the story? It's a famous story told. So as they're going up, the Rebbe inquires, "From wann is a Yid? Where is a Jew from?" And he says, he tells the Rebbe, "For my business, I'm living in New Zealand." So the Rebbe asks him, "Is there a mikveh in New Zealand?" So he says, "I'm there for business, not for mikveh." So the Rebbe said to him, if a Yid finds himself in a certain place, the Jew has to leave his mark on that place. No, the elevator reached its destination, and this Yid, this Ger Chassid, leaves, walks out, and his daughter's waiting for him. He lives in the same building, so he says to his daughter, is curious, who is this person? So she told him, this is the youngest son-in-law of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Many years passed. This fellow finished his business dealings in New Zealand, and he says, the Pnei Menachem says, and like the way it is of Yidden who come from a Chassidic background, they come back to their roots. It seems he was probably from New Zealand, but he wasn't. And he began over years to put on a spodik and a full beard and a spodik, right? And he became a Chassidic Yid, a Ger Chassid in every sense of the word, in the years that elapsed. And he moved to Yisrael. So one of the years he was in New York. This was 1989, 40 years after that encounter. I don't have to tell you that he didn't look the same, but completely transformed. Aside from being 40 years later. How many Jews, says the Pnei Menachem to Halpern, how many Yidden go by the Rebbe with dollars on Sunday? When this fellow goes by, so he gets $1, the Rebbe says, Bracha Batzlacha. He's about to walk off, the Rebbe stops and he says to him, there's a mikveh already in New Zealand. So this Yid told me the story with great spilers. So I said to the Yid, the Pnei Menachem says, I says to the Yid, what's these spilers? He says, the Rebbe's memory. He remembered me after 40 years. So I told him, said the Pnei Menachem, a Yid who watches him, who was Kedusha and Tahara, who was on a level of holiness and Tahara like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, it's not a pella that he remembered you. He saw your pneumius, not looking at, didn't look then at your external, and didn't look now at your external. What is impressive is that 40 years later, it still bothers the Rebbe that the mikveh is not built in New Zealand. That, he says, is what's moving this story. That the Rebbe cares about every Yid. I'm just going to add one more little thing, which I cannot contain myself because it's so good. Is the Chager sharp? Where is it? Yeah. Since I'm not here, we don't have a Fabring Shabbos, I'll leave you with this. And also you can appreciate this story. This is the Pnei Menachem is speaking. So he said, he's telling this Halpern, the author, the editor of Chabad. It's 25 little stories here. His yard site was recently, it's 25 years. So Pnei Menachem said that, he said, once, years ago, I was traveling on the train with one of the famous Rosh Yeshivas of our day, Litvish Rosh Yeshivas. He didn't say his name. So this Rosh Yeshiva said to me that he received from his Rosh Yeshivas that the Cherem, the excommunication that the Gra signed on at his time and his Talmidim against Chassidus, today it only applies to Chabad. So the Pnei Menachem says to him, I told him, this is the greatest compliment I've ever heard on Chabad till today. Wow, what a compliment to Chabad. It's a very deep story. We'll leave it to explain. But at a simple level, he's saying, you're singling out Chabad as the Chassidus of the time of the Baal Shem Tov and of the Gra. That's the only one that endured. That's what you're saying. It's the biggest compliment I ever heard to Chabad. And since we're saying sharp things in his name, I'll say one more thing. At that time, I'm not mentioning any names, but there was the biggest gadol at the time came out against everything that Rabbi said and did, including to learn Rambam daily. So he said, I'm just going to find what the Pnei Menachem said. Yeah. He said, I see this, that he came out against Rambam. It's heaven's punishment that he is opposing to this. Someone that could enter him to oppose the learning of Rambam or to oppose the Siyumim and against those that learn it, this is a punishment for opposing Chassidus. Very deep thought. Okay.